And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to EU League Playday number 3, Stage 1 of 2021. We are in Game 4 of our 4th map about to begin. Cowana Gaming versus G2 Esports underway. Hap and Ace join me on the desk. Gentlemen, first of all, can we all agree that flower pattern shirts are the best?
Yes.
I mean, at this point, I've really got to back it. I've practically got shares in flower pattern shirts.
There you go. It's the flower power of the Dutch also, and their influence here on us in EUL. So, Hap, Ace, why don't we talk about Cowana and G2 and what they have to offer? Starting off with the major story here, I guess, UK, EU, full mix. Kayak used to play on the Cowana squad. They were able to qualify together from Challenger League into EU League. Gets picked up by G2. Shas even comes out, coach of G2. Hey, this guy's probably one of the best gunners we've ever seen. And you have Kendra now stepping into Cowana, actually providing, as Cowana was saying on interview, the experience and calling that they needed at this level of play. There's so much in between these two that we got to break down. So let's go with our first squad. Cowana, let's put them up on the screen for everybody. We got to get through this. I'm so excited to see which map this is going to be on and how the game will go at the end of the day. Let's go. Cowana, UK massive.
The UK massive indeed. It's going to be a mouth-watering matchup. There's no two ways about it, Milosh. We know that this one is going to be big. We all know the Cowana roster by now. We've got Sloth, Gorgona, Anarchic, Grizzly and Kendrew. You've already mentioned Kendrew is an important person to sort of focus in on really within this roster because we've seen him fulfilling so many important roles for Cowana over the last couple of play days. It already looks like the way the team are playing is being built around him and the experience and knowledge that he's bringing. Grizzly, great Playday 1, little bit quieter in Playday 2. I'd say the same for Sloth and Gorgona, to be honest. I think they just need a little bit more from everybody else today.
All right, we'll see how this squad all performs today against G2, a team with a huge pedigree in Europe. Can they keep it up and actually remain at the top now?
Yeah, that's going to be the question because G2, of course, they've had that change. They have now the old IGL of Cowana, and all that means that, of course, Kayak knows their players a little bit, so he's probably aware of what they're going to be going up against. Might be a little bit of an advantage here, but nonetheless, they are still forging themselves into the team they want to be, and Citizen and Virtue are players that are really standing out throughout these last two matches. And the question is, how much longer are they going to be able to keep that up? How much longer are they going to be the driving force of G2 whilst they are trying to get things settled? Now, Citizen, of course, on that main frag role, it's his goal to do like that. He's, the Shaiko on G2, for example. But like the rest of the members, it needs to be a little bit more evenly distributed, I would say, if you wanna have a good time in EUL.
All right, we'll have to see how they perform today. And actually, I'm curious which two players you guys selected for our head-to-head. One out of each one of these two teams. Of course, I want to see the stats. I want to talk about the story of them. So let's go. Kendrew and the Yak. Please carry me down this river of excitement.
Well, we had to pick up on the two new guys, one on either side, as we've already touched on. Kayak going up against his old team in Cowana today, but Kendrew, so important back in Playday 2 and Playday 1 as well. 17 kills overall inside of 2 games. He's going really well to say that he's just come into this team. He's playing a bit more of a supportive role. We can see his main attacker there as Ace. He's coming in with Pulse on the defence as well, so he's not out and out fragging, but he's certainly putting that ability to good use, which is an ability that we know that he's got in absolute bucket loads, and I would expect plenty more kills out of Kendrew today.
Yeah, on the other hand, we have Kayak, of course, also on that Ace and on the Smoke, the support in IGL on the roster of G2. Not fragging as hard as Kendra yet, but he already made himself legendary with one of the clutches we have seen in that previous game against Virtus Pro. 4 plants on the board, and that shows how committed G2 is to getting that diffuser down to tip the skills into their favor.
take me down to my boat on the river and I won't cry out anymore. That's Kayak and his role on the Echo in our last Playday. So yeah, they can perform against one another and see actually which map we're going to be playing on in this series. Quite excited to see. Let's go. Map bans are ready. We all scoot around and it's G2 to ban Consulate after Cowana bans Villa. We go to yet another clubhouse. Good Lord. What is going on today? All right, G2 is starting off on the attacking side on Clubhouse. How does this go? And actually, since this is our third Clubhouse of the evening, what do you expect to be different in this Clubhouse versus from what we've seen before? And even specifically, if you look at Train Hard BDS. Open question. Go ahead.
Tachiban first, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like slows down the attackers quite a bit. They're not going to be able to open up within 10 seconds and then not have to bother about the whole breach anymore for the rest of the round. Like, you want to make it a puzzle. So Tachiban, that really turns it into a puzzle, so to say.
It certainly does. I think we've no excuses but to be sharp with Clubhouse now. As you say, we've seen plenty of it tonight. I think we're going to see a much more even contest than we've just seen against BDS and Train Hard. BDS came in and really took control of that one. Whereas this, I expect to be more sort of blows being traded back and forth. I think 3-3 at the split, maybe a 4-2 at an absolute push, but I think we'll go to 12 rounds.
Okay, that's fair. Do you think we'd go to OT at some point, Hap?
I don't think so. I think it is going to be a close matchup, but I'm urging more towards a 7-5 or 7-4 for G2 compared to how they've been playing and how they have been developing over the past 2 games. So if they manage to continue that, then they might be able to continue bouncing on that one. So I'm thinking close, not a 7-1, but a 7-4, 7-5 for G2.
Okay, then the highlight players, you talked about, Thatcher being taken away, you want to turn everything into Swiss cheese, the difficulties, bring in the ace as well. So what are the players that really have to shine in this? Because we saw Shaiko shining in the last game. We saw overall positive performances in Vitality versus Empire. Who do we look at here besides Kendra and the Yak?
I think, we've got to look on the Cowana side towards Grizzly and Gorgona. We've seen them both have big performances before. As I say, they were a little bit quiet in Playday 2, and Cowana struggled with that. And right now, Cowana, for me, feel like they're at a bit of a tipping point, Milosh. They've had one good game at the beginning of the season, but it was against a Rogue side that weren't quite firing on all cylinders. And then they've struggled a little bit against Na'Vi. They put up a good fight, but they didn't quite have enough when it came down to it. So which Cowana is the real Cowana? Which is the one that we're going to see through the rest of the season? And this game is going to give us a really good idea about that.
It's like Schrodinger's Cowana, right? You don't know until we get into the game. But on the side of G2, I think Virtue and Citizen are the 2 to watch. They were very decisive against Virtus Pro and basically landed them the majority of that win. So if they manage to fire off again today, we should see a repeat in that.
All right, fair enough. Our lobby's almost ready. Not sure who's trying to reconnect and get things. Somebody had some PC issues, so it just at least gives us more time to discuss this game in depth. We talked about what are some of variations that we'd see on this Clubhouse versus the 2 that we've seen earlier today. We talked about some of the highlight players that we also have to see from both of these teams. Now we can dig a bit deeper into strategies, preferred sites. Are we going to still see that classic rotation of, let's start off on church, then we can rotate the server and then switch around to bedroom? Will there be a special one that's being played? Will there be specific operators? Seeing a lot of Mozzie being played here. So how do you see this actually in the server? We are in the game panning out, Ace.
I think Mozzie's an interesting one to pick up on because Citizen plays a lot of Mozzie, and I think we will see that continue whilst G2 are on defence. I think we will see those extended roams up to the top floors from both teams because they like to play aggressive. They've got gunners who will go out and look to get frags, particularly Sloth, for example. He just wants to get out of that site. He doesn't want boxing in. He just wants to go out there and make a nuisance of himself. So I think it'll be quite roam heavy. I think there'll be a lot of fights away from site, and I think it's probably going to largely come down to who can take control of the larger portions of the map before pushing onto site as to who will win the game.
You say that, but here's something that's been happening quite often over the past few play days. It seems like people like sitting inside of kitchen and lurking in there for an extended
That's a death
time.
box. That's a death box. You really don't want to
They
do
always
that.
grab a couple of kills before that.
Yeah, of course they do, but that's because people don't drone well. Like, honestly, it is like you
Doesn't
sit
it
there.
make sense for you
are
as a
dead.
defender to use and abuse that?
Yeah, well, if you can abuse it, sure, right? But if you're caught off in the kitchen, you're basically dead, right? Yes, you can win one gunfight maybe, but like realistically speaking, you should be pushing a meat locker from the window and from the hallway all at the same time. There's no way you're going to be able to get away with more than 3 kills. Oh, maybe even 2 kills in that case. Like, it worked out, yes, of course. If it works out, it is great, but it shouldn't work out. That's kind of my point, right? You need to get those drones, and you need to check if someone is in there and not just trust that it is going to be safe. And I get a bit upset when I see plays like that happen. Like, yes, they're great. It's very good, but it shouldn't happen. Like, I'm gonna stay quiet.
Look, Hap, if Rainbow Six was all about numbers and how things, look on just an Excel sheet or something like that, then we wouldn't be here, sitting here discussing it with you now, would we?
I don't even use that many Excel sheets, right? I don't use that many.
I have
Ace uses more than me. Yes,
I was going to say, I'm not going to weigh in because I really do.
I think it's Ace that is the one that gets the most Excel sheets. But I like to combine the stats, with what you see, and then make a little bit, think about it, analyze it, see, okay, what could this mean? That has nothing to do with the whole kitchen scenario. That just doesn't. You shouldn't be able to get away with 3 kills like we saw in. I don't even know what first clubhouse we saw today. That shouldn't happen, right?
Well.
Just as well as the fact that, for example, Shaiko, he shouldn't be able to get 3 kills from pillars or from boiler or wherever he plays, but he somehow gets away with it. It's great to see. It should happen, right? We should have the utility being used to get them dislodged from those kind of positions. But no, I'm gonna shut up about that before I make too many enemies about this subject.
Don't you worry, ladies and gentlemen. Hap is just very salty because he used to run through all of this back in his own competitive career in Benelux. So
I died as a glass in a enemy smoke. Like, I was aiming down the sight with my thermal, and I was like, great, but then my HP chipped away. So I don't have any right of speaking about what is the right play.
And this is why all 3 of us.
I'm a caster.
Exactly. Now, we are casters, and that's why we play Thermite most of the time. And Zofia is part of our own personality expression. Thank you very much.
Raise your hands if you're a Thermite main. Yeah, save point 3-1.
So, fortunately, Hap was there for us in Invitational when we actually needed something else, or when we needed a Caveta when we were playing on defense. But, steps in when it was necessary. Ace, come on. We're looking at this lobby. We're waiting for it to be done and ready. So let's talk about the nerves here for Cowana, because it is a big deal here going up against G2. No matter how many people have left G2 as an organization or used to play on the org back in the day, there's still that aura of we are a legendary team around G2 that a lot of teams, especially inexperienced ones or less experienced ones, take a bit of time to overcome. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, as you say, coming in for the Cowana guys, there's going to be a lot of pride on the line. Kayak's gone over there to G2. It's a huge organisation. Any one of them would have gone. Anybody would go to G2 if the question was asked, no matter whose shoes you fill in or anything else. If they'd asked me to go, Milosh, I'd have gone and taken that seat. And I'd have played a brilliant Thermite game. That's all I'll say. They've missed an opportunity possibly. But I think, realistically for Cowana now, you don't want to go in there and lose to your ex-teammate. They'll want to see him do well in the long run, but they don't want it to be against them. So they are going to go in there and fight tooth and nail, and they want to prove a point that, yes, we've had to replace you, we've done it, and we've done it well, and we are ready to fight. And the same could be said in reverse. Kayak in no way wants to go in there and look like, I've come away from Cowana and now they're beating us. He wants to go in there. This is all about pride. It's all about bragging rights and getting that win. Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to be losing to your ex-team as the IGL because you kind of feel more responsible, I would assume, if you're the one calling the shots, throughout the game. So it's like, I think it's a very, very fiery game indeed that we will be seeing. Like, but both teams have at least one person that want to prove something to the other because it's like they recently separated.
All right, we're just taking a look here because it seems like one of our players is really having major issues right now. So we're hoping that he'll be able to reconnect in the lobby, formed and ready ASAP. We'll keep you updated on that as we go. But let's look at some of the past games of these two squads. Obviously, they haven't really had the time to play against one another. We want to look at the posterity, see what happened. In the same Playday last week, G2 played VP on Consulate and Navi played Cowana on Consulate as well. Both games ending up in a 7-4 for G2 and then Navi against Cowana. We're trying to take the measurements and kind of, brainstorm, create a mind map, as some would say, and see how does these two results actually set us up for today between Cowana and G2. Let's go Theorycraft time, because we have time to kill, and Ace, you and I casted LATAM, so we know what it's like to kill time. Let's go.
We certainly do. We're experts in the fill-in world, Milosh. You've absolutely no choice if you're going to cover those LATAM games. But I think, looking at the question you've asked there, how do the results we've seen so far play into today's matchup? So the story for both teams really is quite similar. We've had very different results, Playday 1 to Playday 2. G2 struggled to get it over the line in Playday 1. As Citizen said, I won't paraphrase him specifically, but he said that they were maybe playing a little bit scared. They weren't playing their own game. Whereas Playday 2, G2 came in looking like a completely different beast against Virtus Pro, and they were very, very dominant on console at that time. So it's going to be interesting, first and foremost, now to see G2 on a different map. We've only seen them on Consulate so far. So let's get them to Clubhouse and let's start to really unpack them a little bit. But I think if they can carry that momentum, and this is my next point about those first two Playdays, G2 have done it the right way around. They've had the poor result, they've had the good result to lead them into today with momentum, whereas Cowana have had that great start, then maybe had the wind knocked out of the sails a little bit by Navi, and come in today on a bit of a downward curve, having struggled last week. So for me, if you're looking at the mental game and the momentum side of things, I think it gives G2 a slight advantage there.
Actually, I have a question. What is G2's current ratio and stat on Clubhouse?
They haven't played it yet this season. I'm not sure. Like,
I mean, over the past few months.
Yeah, but it's been a really
something.
like it's been a while. Did you really want to pull up stats that are older than 3 months old? Because I normally don't do that. Like, I'm just saying. I just look at recent results for form. But if you want, I can pull it up. So, do you really want it, Milosh? Do you want the stats?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but none of us were at Invitational in February because it didn't happen. So
yeah, so there's not really anything except for the last two maps. That is true. Well, we did have the finals that happened, of course. Everybody still remembers that little bit of a theme park game. I'm pulling it up as we speak, so just bear with me a little bit,
It's all right, Hap. I mean, we've also got to consider the potential for the map to play considerably differently to the last time G2 played it. It's a really good point that you make, actually. We haven't seen them on there for a while, and now we've got Arune and Zero that are in the active pool. We haven't seen G2 play competitively on Clubhouse with Arune and Zero in the pool. So, again, we could see a little bit of a difference there. It maybe opens up different options for bans, for example. It gives options to cover off hatches with the Arune laser gates. That's what you were waiting for, and I know you were.
Oh. Gentlemen, I'm hearing something. Yeah. It seems like our lobby is ready. So
let's go.
I'm sorry to cut off your laser gates conversation. I always love hearing about your laser gates, but we're going to have to give it to our casters for this one. Hap, Ace, thank you so much for filling this time. We're here together. Cowana versus G2 is about to begin. Yet another Clubhouse is where we will go, and this time Des and Jess will carry us through the game. We'll see you in there.
I was so excited to hear about Ace's laser gates when Sexy Cake goes for it on this Playday. But you know what? No, it's not about Ace anymore. Sorry, buddy, I love you. It's all about the game that we've been waiting for some time. Cowana versus G2. Look at that, Jess. 85% of the audience siding with G2. No surprise there. They are the fan favourites. But Cowana, I don't want to say they got a point to prove, but they got a point to prove. They need to show they can tango with the best, tango with those near the top of the table, and keep themselves in contention for a top 4 spot. Clubhouse for the third time today. Look, this happens. It happened on Oregon. It's happening on Club. We'll get through this together.
Oh, see, that's a nice positive message to throw out to the audience. We can all do this together. What I wasn't expecting to have to do together with you is cast Clubhouse yet again. It seems to be the flavor of the teams today is to just pick up the Clubhouse and run with it. What we haven't seen, however, is a funky band come out. It's going to be a Zofia off the board. You know why Zofia's come off the board if you've been watching anything to do with Cowana? I bring up the operators on attack. I saw by rounds played, and their most played operator, Zofia. So go figure.
The Clash as well, going out to man. That's like throwback to Burning Fox's days for Cowana when they were back in UK, and like that's the sort of what they play a lot. Then they do bring it along from time to time here as well. These are target bans through and through. One way to try and make them feel uncomfortable. And you mean Zofia is a little bit here nor there. You still can bring the Ash along, of course. You are still bringing along quite a few destructive gadgets, if not 3 versus the 2, given, of course, only 2 impacts on the Zofia, but you do lose the ability to burn through things like the ADSs, like the magnets. We'll see if that becomes a thing in this game. Round number 1's going to kick off in CCTV, and as it is not banned in this game, as it was in our last one, Jess, Mamar's going to get picked up by Grizzly.
Why not? I mean, that Thatcher ban was predicted by Hap on the pre-desk, and I know it was a hella long pre-desk, so if you've forgotten it, no problems. He did predict it would come out on through so that, you know, the map wouldn't be picked apart like it was on the last map with BDS, who just threw EMPs everywhere and made ruin to every single wall and hatch that existed. Now you've got a little bit more to play with. You won't have the Maverick ban either because the Kaib will still be in place, so that's going to be an important aspect of the attacking composition. Nevertheless, I expect Grizzly to be the god of the rafters in Garage, even if he places a couple of those magnets to give protection to someone playing up there. That will be the key power position, and I'm interested to see how they're going to work with this wall. You can tell with Kayak taking that Maverick, they're not going to care if there's any electric claws. They're going to deal with it either way, but it'll be about how much time they can stall away with that.
I am loving how much we're seeing G2 playing the Twitch, by the way. They did this the other day on Consular and had excellent clear coming in behind it. A number of flashes were thrown in to make sure no one could shoot it out. Got into the site, cleared off the gadgets, got back out again without losing the drone. They really do know how to make good use of this Twitch, and sticking Gouda on it as well. Not really the guy that you look at on this roster and think big fragger at the minute. You look towards Citizen and Virtue. Between them, 30 kills, I believe it was last week. It was unbelievable. Kanto really yet to see him start shining, and Kayak now being that hard support that G2 have longed for, they have yearned for so long. He's now sat in that position. And on the other side, I imagine Gorgona weeping a small tear here as well, of course, because Kayak used to be their resident Kaib main, and now that he's gone, someone else has got to pick up those duties instead.
Well, speaking of picking up those duties, they've thrown an electrical directly underneath. So instead of throwing it in maybe the corner above the drone hole, or maybe underneath in Garage and getting those 2 verticals with the electric claws there, he just slapdashed it on underneath. So fair enough, they could have used a Twitch drone to dispatch of it, but instead they're just going to Maverick it open to make the wall soft. And of course, over on the other side of Garage, it will be Kanto opening up the wall, making good work of it. Good trades coming out there from Cowana, especially getting Uno and then G2 trading straight back onto the Twitch. But I'm a little worried. Is that Garage free now? Was that a really aggressive push up? Does that mean they can take control? Nah, not if Sloth has anything to say about it.
Right there with your voice crack. You're joining me in the party now, apparently.
I know. I'm so sorry. It was one of those things where you're just like trying to finish your food before the desk finishes, and you're just like, not enough time, mate.
It was a mad scramble, not going to lie, given how fast that last game was. Game 1 and 3 today have just been rapid fast, and I'm hoping this one does go the full distance because it's a game that deserves it. 1:15 left on the clock, and that garage control has been assumed, as you alluded to earlier on, after they cleared out Grizzly, who was playing up here on Catwalk, traded out with Uno pretty early on, but it gives G2 the 2 points of control they need. The East Breach being opened, the South in Garage under their control. Most teams these days tend to opt for going for construction instead, but here, not bothering. Sloth, good luck, buddy. You've been pinched in on both sides there, taken out by Kanto. Maybe in a place where he didn't want to be this late into the round. 45 seconds remain, and you can see G2 starting to square up for an execute. Kayak, diffuser in hand, is ready, but look at the C4 in the hands of Kendrew on the other side. There isn't one with the Kaid, but that C4 could do so much untold damage. Kayak
I believe Kayak's walking into that. Yes, he is. He has no idea, and that's going to down him. It should have finished him, but he's going to be able to trail himself off. Kanto is in a really big predicament here. All they need is one smoke to collect, and then the diffuser still has to go down. But that's a Kobe if I've ever seen one, and all of a sudden kills will rain out. It's a quad kill. It won't be an ace, and it's a denial. And all of a sudden now, Kayak, he'll just clean up the round as he needs to. I mean, you could be a support, you could be a cleanup, you could be a janitor for all you. Oh, I care. I don't even care. Throw it into the site, and they don't look happy with that. That's why troubled.
How are you so calm and composed about this, Jess? Kendrew's just down the guy coming into garage, killed Citizen that was charging through site, swung onto the guy coming in breach, and then Kayak steps up against the 2K. What?
What do you want me to say? Be like, oh, okay, well, that wasn't expected. Of course it's expected. Last 10 seconds left in a round. They've got to collect something. And, of course, Cowana had the upper hand there. They just couldn't let it go through. That's it. That's all it came down to.
I'm more impressed that Kendrew stands steadfast as G2, a team that we have regarded as one of the best attacking teams this season so far, stands true and brings down 3 by himself, including Citizen, who we've seen so many times go bombing it through sight, down in 2 or 3 members as he goes. The number of times they ripped rounds away from Virtus Pro last week, pulling out that kind of play was astronomical. It was insane. Yet here, Kendrew stands once again as the shining light for Cowana. He did the same for them on Constant last week when he was the guy on the supportive role that would step forward and pick up 2, 3, 4 kills. And you say support players or IGL players are there to plant? Kendrew disagrees. He's here to frag, and my God, does he keep on fragging for this team.
The ace denial was probably the saddest part about that. I thought to myself, yeah, kick it off strong here. You know, really show Kayak that, you know, you've taken a place that's well worth your standing. And he's not going to get that. That's okay. It doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, that was a strong showing for round 1, even if they don't get the round win. It came down to the bare minimum of that was needed there for Kayak to just get that kill. And it was through a tiny hole that shouldn't have been open to begin with. So we're talking about little mistakes here and there. That was just inconsequential in the end. I think next round will be a great showing. Now both these teams have got a feel for each other here, Des. I do expect that this will calm down just a little bit. Won't be quite as frag heavy, but I'm liking Cavana's utility usage and their plant denial. They're letting G2 come in and go for the plant, and then they're saying, when you go for it, we have the smokes ready, we have the C4s ready, and we have the bodies ready.
Yeah, Kayak kind of owed the team, to be fair, after getting down by the smoke, and I was like, bro, step back. What are you doing, bro? And then before you know it, he's on the dirt, and I thought, oh, man, they're going to give this one away. What is he doing? But they managed to recover it, and Kayak is the one who drags him over the finish line. And I think Kayak is naturally a player that is drawing a lot of eyes at the moment, and perhaps unfairly so. If something goes wrong, there'll be a lot of blame going his way. It isn't always Kayak's fault, and there he's done absolute wonders for them by bringing that back over, but Sloth, I think getting it through the bottom of that wall, pulls off a naughty little shot to bring down Kanto. That's the Habana removed, and now they can only rely on the Maverick. Yes, the breach is already open. It's not going to be the end of the world, but they can't very easily now get the garage walls opened up.
What a shame. He's the perfect counter for this mirror window over in Logi as well. Obviously, for the most part, G2 is probably going to deal with it by tossing a flash down, maybe even following it up with one of Uno's remaining grenades because Kayak is out of them now. And if they can get rid of that mirror spot, okay, they're in a really good position here to take Logi as well. This is kind of the natural progression of taking in over towards the bedroom side. Is just going, all right, we've got Cash, we've got Con, we need Logi as well. How are we going to get it? We could do a pop hatch, we could do it from below even, and that's what they're doing here. I think you'll get a double for the trouble, and if he tosses it correctly with the nice timing, he'll be able to get it happening. Kendrew, it'll light him well up, but unfortunately, they don't get what they desired, and it was impact out of the last frag. They should be able to get some verticals, and good ping.
Yellow ping, I believe, coming out there from Virtue up on the hatch, just nails him out, and that's it. Far too easy from below, just to spray through those floors, and as soon as they come away, guess what? Those bullets are being stopped by your body, and Sloth goes down. 4 versus 4. It's squaring up relatively well for G2. They've managed to get through this extended hold out towards the east. The issue that we saw from Empire versus Vitality early on was just how much time was being wasted. But here they've got Logi control. They've got construction. Now they've got to start thinking about a push. A trade comes off on main stairs. 3 versus 3. Kayaks round and gets the down onto Kenny. His counterpart here, stepping into big shoes, is down. It's a 1 versus 3. Gorgona all alone on the mute. I'm no doubt the heart's pumping. He knows what's coming. He misses the spray, but Kayaks come crouching through, puts his old teammate in the ground, and G2 take round number 2.
Oh, I had to see it back from his perspective there just to get a real good indication as to how close that was. It's seeming like, you know, you're calling him the yak, but it's seeming like Kayak is having those moments where he's not only having to open up walls, scope everything out with his drones, he's also going to come in and make some really crucial plays in the dying seconds of a round. That's a lot of pressure on a player who just had to come in and fill the shoes of Pegu and make his own identity on one of the biggest names of organizations in our entire game. That's a lot of words. It's a lot of pressure on Kayak, I think.
He's having a field day so far. Yeah, I mean, sure, there's been some rough rounds. Again, as a player that hasn't got tons of experience at Tier 1, he is fitting in nicely. Given, 9 months ago, he was playing on Fierce in the UK, for example. What a glow up. All I can say, I remember he was the latest addition to the team, actually, of Cowana. I think it was towards Q4 of last year or so. He joined up after getting picked up off the back of Fierce, and it was a last-minute change that not everyone was 100% on. Is it the right call for them right now? He fit right in like a jigsaw piece in an incomplete picture. It was glorious, and he's doing the same here on G2. Great start for them. Cowana showing some signs of life, but right now it is G2 running the show. Again, their attacks looking almost impeccable.
Well, they're going to have to make it a 3-piece if they want to get even more confident on their attacking side. I did make mention to it before, and you and I have spoken about it. What's the ratio looking like? Where is this going to head with the new meta? Do we just give it a whole stage and then come back and analyze it then? Sure, let's do that. But for now, what does it look like statistically for G2 and Cowana? How do they fare on their attacking rounds and defending rounds? Well, if we just go to G2 as a whole, they win about 50% of their attack rounds, which isn't bad. But they win about 75% of all defending rounds. So if they do well on their attack, go on to their defense, statistically, they are in a really, really good position to absolutely smash this game. Cowana got to step it up here and really make the dent in this first half.
What I really liked about that last round as a point to think on is that is where Cowana would normally play the clash. They would have someone inside of Logi, a second player in there with them looking to play for kind of trades off the back of it. With that removed, it was so risky to play inside of Logi in the first place. And G2, they doubled down on their advantage, not only by banning the clash, but also send someone downstairs into kitchen. It was Uno playing behind the grenades, killing Sloth from below through the floorboards. They just got Cowana figured out here, and you can see why they're regarded as such a fantastic attacking team. The flexibility they bring, the synergy and coordination. These are all words that we use to describe teams when they play well, but in G2, it is genuinely the case. They've got all those things in spades on the attacking half of their games.
Oh no, you're in a really bad spot, buddy. And Gorgona says, I want to challenge it instead, but Kenju will pick up the kill on a Virtue with a beautifully placed C4. You were speaking about coordination and synergy on G2. I actually mistook that for Cowana because the way they were moving up in duos, up blue stairs, the way that the kitchen, Gorgona player, he was sitting there with Kenju nearby. There was so much coordination on this lurk. It's not really a roam because it's halfway close to sight, really. You can go back down blue stairs at any moment. There's two players here. Of course, going to get a bit of a quick peek to see if anyone's there. They have no idea. A quick stand up should net him the kill. It's going to be the ultimate whiff, but he gets there eventually, and a little smirk, as you can see his player cam there, and they make it work. They get 2 for the piece, 2 very important plays. In fact, 2 of the biggest fraggers from last Playday. That's a big hit into G2's lineup.
That's an Adam kill if I ever saw one from Sloth, being a true rat there, lying down and letting Citizen come pushing in. Goes to show, droning every corner can be absolutely essential. Cowana here, though, have got 2 kills without so much as a bullet being fired back by G2. The C4 to kick things off, and then turning into the kill just a second ago. More coordination coming out of G2, not quite coming into effect. The C4 is deployed, but catches no one, and there is still 1 left on Sloth. Where he chooses to use it is going to be the next big question. Kanto pushing his way down main. It is still a 3 versus 5. There's a lot to do here for G2 with 20 seconds remaining. Something tells me they're probably not going to have enough time to make this one happen, but I'll be damned if they don't bloody well try. Default cam shot out a little bit late here as well. They know there are 2. 1 in pipes, 1 in moto. They're going for the push, but 2 drop very quickly. Kayak left all alone. It's going to be a flawless round for Cowana as a way of shooting back to G2 and saying, don't worry, boys, we aren't out of this just yet.
A little bit of question I have here for G2, because you talk about their synergy, coordination, everything, and I do want to highlight that because they did move together. There were a few live droning positions there that I thought were really great. Multiple, opportunities for trades to come out for G2 if they were aggressed head on. They weren't. There was a couple of those verticals and then the rat play in Adam's spot. You pointed out rightfully so in secret. So I think for me, there's a couple of things that G2 couldn't have traded in that round specifically. My worry is that why are we putting Kanto on Hibana if he's going to end the round with 14 X-Kairos in his pocket? What's the purpose of him taking that, if not to attempt to at least open things? Is it the type? I mean, I wouldn't expect so. There's a lot of other better weapons that you can take to do even more damage, maybe even bring some frags along to really help out. My worry is that he's being put on an operator, and whether or not it's the just simple mute jammers that they're struggling with or whatever it is, he's not using the operator to full capacity, and he's also not fragging out with it. So he kind of looks a little bit lost compared to the rest of the players at the moment, and we said that last week as well. I'd like to see him step up a little bit more, but at the moment the scoreline dictates that he doesn't really need to. Cowana is the one that has to step up now.
I think maybe part of it comes down to the fact they were in a 3 versus 5 and thinking, well, we can't execute a plan here. We can't go for a smoke plant, for example. We can't just drop through a hatch and try and play for kills because we will just get absolutely slaughtered. So instead, let's just go for it. Push down main, try and take an even firefight rather than taking the risk of trying to push down through a drop. I don't know. But one thing I do know is they are bringing back an operator. We have seen them and a couple other teams really starting to lean towards playing again. It's the Capitão. It was banned away for much of last year, but I think now that teams are leaning towards other bans instead, you're starting to see the rise of things like the Capitão coming into play. And whilst G2 have had mixed results with it, we've seen what can be done. It can make players run away from catwalk. The smoke is excellent to go for plants. So when you don't have an ace on side, for example, it's really powerful. Dare I say, it kind of gives you a bit more flex in terms of what you want to bring along when you have to bring a Maverick, for example, because that Thatcher's banned away.
This is a perfect counter. Having this C4 already prepared and handed, already ripped, it means that if you did want to throw it later on throughout this Mavericking, and you can see Kendra holding it in his hands now, they won't know that it's being open now that it's gone soft. Kayak's all too aware of Kendra's nasty plans, and he'll back all the way off the platform completely, and his life will be intact as a result. That's a very usual counter to, I don't know which match we were watching, whether it was an APAC match or an EUL, but last year, you and I sat through a match where that happened 3 times in a row.
That was a mission because he got absolutely ruined in every round, and we sat here feeling so sorry for him because it happened, like you say, probably 3 rounds in a row just on this wall. It was disgusting.
Unbelievable. Nevertheless, their next part of ingress onto this particular map, now that they have platform open, is Grizzlies, the big bear up on top of the rafters there, and they've got to deal with him very quickly. Not sure where they were shooting off those X-Kairos. I heard one of them expire, and maybe that was an impact. Nevertheless, Kanto can still crouch on in there. He's going to deal with the player running out from strip, and all of a sudden, it is going to be a lot harder for the defenders now if they don't keep this garage control.
Here come the flashes, which normally means that frags are going to follow not too long after. They have committed one of those from Kayak, but nothing connects. In comes now the Capitão to burn Grizzly to a cinder. He can't easily stand up, but he's staying in the fire. Bro, stand up and do something. Don't just lie there and burn to death. Either way, he's not going anywhere. Flashed out, Medics calls it, so he is a little bit stuck. Clearly, you can't see anything in that case. Fair call in that case, Medics. You may as well be a third caster with us in this case. Either way, that puts us into a 2 versus 4. Cowana down in numbers. G2 in absolute dominant force. Once again with a double kill coming out from Kayak in this round. And now Sloth has got it all to do. He knows that window is one. He knows that there's one outside on the balcony. One's inside of construction. He can't do it all, unfortunately. G2 take round number 4.
Well, it looks like Kavana's really been put on the back foot here. And I do want to say, for all of the viewers sitting here going, wow, G2 is so much better than Kavana. Well, not really, because Kavana's strategy is if you break them down, you pause it and you do a bit of an overhead view, as our beautiful observer Medics consistently shows us throughout the prep phase. Their setup's good. It's pretty good. I think they've thought about redundancy after redundancy. What happens if the ADSs expire? We've got the magnets. What happens if this? Well, we can rotate back through here. Well, what happens if they start to get the Playday? We've got the smokes, we've got the C4. They've thought of everything, both early, mid, and late round on their defense. It just doesn't turn out into round wins. It just seems like there's a win condition they can't meet that G2 can consistently, and it's consistency that wins maps.
It is indeed, and dare I say the consistency of G2's attacks is, again, one of the best that we're seeing so far in the competition. Human Bedroom, where we head for round number 5. It's not quite the end of the half just yet. It is the penultimate round. I'm looking towards a double breach, not double breach, double soft breach they've brought here as well, actually, the sledge and the book coming along at the same time. That's 4 frags for them, maybe thinking, you know what, frags, it feels pretty good to me. Why not? And it feels like the right round to have done it, given that there's only the Jaeger on side. Well, Maya's been benched by Cowana for this round. Keen to see what impact those 4 frags can have in that case, because they've already found a couple of kills in this game off the back of them.
Big thing reason for me, and probably why I thought they originally brought the Capitao and they actually had really good success with it on Rafters in Garage, is that you're trying to find different ways to deal with the same problem so you don't become predictable. Whether it's someone playing in cash and you want to lob over a grenade or two, you're not going to do that with flame bolts, are you? It's never going to be quite as accurate as a grenade can be over the top of those reinforcements. So if it's just taking cash and you think they're going to do a cash hold, and you go, all right, well, we need grenades for this in case they do the desk stand on inside of cash, then the grenade's going to deal with them 9 times out of 10. I just think it's a bit of an adaptation that G2's flying round after round, predicting what site will they go to, what hold will they do. Well, we need grenades for that, and good hold.
Nothing too explosive kicking the round off, as we so often say when there really isn't all that much going on to the very beginning. That's not the focus from G2. We commented on this earlier on as well. Let's not forget that some teams, Empire is who I'm thinking of here, commit all the resources out towards CC early to take control of that, and then find themselves with very little left when it comes around to worrying about Jacuzzi. Whereas Kayak here is putting early pressure on this side, making sure they have something going into Jacuzzi. So there is pressure there. The hallways it's so free to play inside of, for example. But let's see what he can get away with, because as Medics has pointed out a couple of times, there's someone daring for a run out. It would have been Grizzly, but he's now backed away, probably aware that, you know what, we're probably not going to be able to catch him in this case. Let's just back away and get ourselves back to site.
Something that G2's done a really good job of is make sure they've got below presence, because you never know when that sneaky C4 could come raining up through the hatch, or someone just stands on the pool table or the billiard table and they get the free kill. Citizen's the one that wants to get that freebie, however. The roles are reversed and he wants it, but so does Sloth over towards CCTV window. He does get a lot of health taken off as a result, but he won't quit. I know what Sloth is like. He's got the UK massive brain to play with here, and no, that's the C4 wasted. That could have been really crucial in later parts of this round, Des. I'm a little worried for that one.
Kendra down to a nade, I believe that was coming out from below. Kayak, the one who let it rip and then caught out onto Kendrew. Sloth also being down, puts us basically for now into a glorified 5 versus 3. This should be a lot of pressure, a lot of opportunity for G2 now to take the onus in these final 45 seconds and make a play happen. Gorgona holding nice and close, but Citizen almost aware that a man is lurking. When you have the numbers advantage, though, you can afford to make this kind of play just avoids him by a pixel or two. Is Gorgona waiting to play off what we saw from Na'Vi? I think it was Na'Vi previously, with a double C4 kill coming out through the hatch. It has been disastrous for teams as they've gone for a push, and that has happened. Kendry's finished off, and Narkic is now down as well. They finished almost everything. It doesn't matter what Gorgona's going to do. Finds one on the window, and now Citizen is hunting. There's one man left. It's Virtue with 3. Citizen to close out. G2 take round number 5. And Cowana, they are reeling for answers right now, Jess.
Oh, G2 looks like they're just going from strength to strength to strength. It doesn't matter what site they're hitting here. It just feels like they know exactly what the answer is going to be. You asked about what those grenades were for. Well, I definitely think that they were to dispatch a lot of these players who will sit behind shields. I mean, gym, bedroom, it's going to be one of those really, really popular sites to play behind shields, play behind shower. You can bounce grenades if you're a bit crafty, and we know there's a couple of crafty men on the side of G2. So those nades worked out really well, especially to dispatch that Maestro that was sitting on rotate there on Jim. I do think, however, when you're saying Cowana needs to have the answer, I'm sitting here trying to come up with what that answer is, and I don't have one, because their strategies to begin with are good. They're going to have to go onto the attack and obviously think about a little bit of a better answer on their second half. But I don't know, Des. It's tough for Cowana today.
And their time's up. That's all the time they get to discuss. So in the time that Jess just shared her thoughts, that's all the time that Mr. Officer behind the scenes would have had to say to his team, look, guys, reset, mental check here. Things aren't going well. We get that. Let's get ourselves back in the game here, make a couple of changes if we have to. And apparently that change is Sloth, not so much being on the roam anymore. He's been playing the Jaeger all half, but he's now moving over to playing the Malusi. Kendrew's going out on the Vigil. Couple of changes coming in here to say, look, guys, freshen it up a little bit, change something around here. If we get this second defensive round, it's still not a great picture. No, the G2 have just taken 4, maybe 5 attacking rounds off us, but at least it's something to give us a little bit more padding room.
Yeah, that's a buffer room. We've said it before. That's the difference between making it into overtime and getting that singular point, which at the end of the stage means a world of wonders. You know, that's the difference between maybe 7th place and 5th place, for example, which does change things up dramatically. You're thinking about SI points into the future, rather, in the future stages. And for now, it's just making sure that you sit as high as you can in stage 1 collectively so that, you know, going on to future stages, you are not in that worry position of the relegation. But that is far into the future of now. We're barely just scratching the surface of stage 1 and what EUL will bring us for this season of 2021. But what we're seeing so far is a reinvigorated G2. We questioned them last year. We said, okay, well, they probably shouldn't have won that best of 3 against BDS, or best of 5 in total against BDS. And, well, they're showing that that streak didn't die off over the holidays.
I was going to say there's a few people dancing around each other here, but sadly one goes down. The second falls just after. The timing from G2 is almost impeccable. Kendra trying to back his way down main stairs, gets tagged out by the guy outside. The other one tries to come up behind him to help up main stairs to the window to try and go for a trade, and then Citizen comes through kitchen. 2 dead. It's still in tatters for Cowana. G2 are looking here to go 5-1 in their attacking half of Clubhouse. Unbelievable.
That's going to boost that attacking win statistic that I had brought up earlier on, and that's going to probably unfavorably so do it. Citizen, he's been a really good fragger for the side of G2, and that right there is what Citizen and Virtue do best. They play off of each other so very well, but guess who else plays well off of each other? It's Grizzly with his man Anarchy right next to him. It's like trade after trade after trade, crossfire after crossfire. It's the best way to play Siege if you want to keep those numbers sharp. But they say, you guys are off site. We're just getting on. And Kanto's already there waiting.
This is so bizarre. That a man is challenging someone trying to step back into his own site and holding him as if he were the defender. But that diffuser is going to go down. Grizzly does bring one back over. Can they do anything here with Anarchy coming down on the roam on the smoke? Bit of a strange return for them, but no, Uno's going to swing out and drop him down. Grizzly alone now in Moto. It does feel like Attacker's trying to push into site here, but I guarantee you guys, it is absolutely the reverse. A 1 versus 2 as Grizzly steps in, goes to the fight and collects it. That's a triple, but there's one left with the stray nade from Kayak's going to close round 6 out. G2 are 5-1 on the attacking half. Can anyone stop the unstoppable attacks out of G2? The answer appears to be no.
If you're Cowana right now, you're hoping your attacks look like 75% as good as G2's. Otherwise, this is over before we know it. I really do truly believe it was like that Rogue game that we went over. And I said, Rogue are looking so hot. Like, you just sitting there going, they are really on fire today. G2, this looks easy for them. This honestly does look easy for them. Whether it's grenades bouncing off walls, just collecting people inside of rotates, whether it's them using utility like the Capital Bolt, which we haven't seen featured appropriately to full success in a very long time. The Russian teams used to either play it a lot and or ban it a lot because they knew the power that it contained. G2's got it all. They really do. And I think you always watch G2 and its evolution over the past few years, and you think, oh, wow, they're up their highs and their lows and their highs and their lows. Well, we're finally, I think, especially right before SI's coming in, I think we're hitting another G2 high.
That makes me sad. We're not going to get to see G2 versus BDS until the 19th of April.
No.
We've got like 3 weeks to wait for that. And that is going to be the screamer of the stage if things carry on this way. Admittedly, there are other games that I'm looking forward to. Na'Vi versus BDS. They play on the 8th of April. That will also be an excellent game because Na'Vi are this other kind of hidden factor at the minute that are also performing really well. If they come out the back of today with a win, I put G2, Na'Vi, and BDS as the top 3 teams to be fighting at the top of the table.
There you go. I don't know what to think of Na'Vi, and that's a conversation for later. But if you are wondering how the standings are going at the moment, we do thoroughly suggest make sure that you jump onto the r6esports.com website, have a look at how everything's flowing at the moment. You can also read more about the drops, etc., which you can get in the Twitch chat. And that's a nice little... Uno probably sitting there going, how did they know? I didn't hear a drone. I didn't see a drone. Don't worry, buddy. It's a pre-placed drone up on flag. You got to be checking for those drones when you're roaming.
Moss, question mark. No doubt the question mark's coming through. Protest. That's what they're all hoping for, I'm sure. But no, he is still alive, admittedly down about a third of his HP, so it's still something. He's in the round. one less bullet maybe to finish him off is something you'll be thinking about later into the round. But I was going to say the one thing I'm super excited to see in the second half is how well G2 defend. Cowana definitely aren't a wilting violet when it comes to the attacks, and for G2, where they've been a bit shaky so far has been their defensive rounds. Their attacks, incredible, but once another team is leading the pace, things can change. But Sloth peeking out at the back of a reload, Kanto drops him down onto his knees, and he is out of here, frag grenades and all.
He was actually cooking a grenade at that time, and it would have been the perfectly cooked grenade for top rated. There was no ADSs there. Kanto would have died to that without a doubt. Trouble is, to throw the grenade in course, you have to look over towards that course, and that's a scary, crash that he unfortunately faced there by going up against Weapon with his hands up in the air. Grizzly, he doesn't seem any much more dissuaded. He's going to deal with that moto hatch, and the rest of the team's going to go on their way, having lost a couple of grenades, a big hitter on the gun of Sloth. Well, unfortunately, I mean, you speak about Sloth a lot. Do you really, when I say really, do you think he's had the impact that he needs to have on this particular map against G2, especially as a fragger for his team?
I don't even think so much like in the map, but in the season so far. Like, look, I love Sloth. He is the Monkey King, as I call him. He'll be out of every window and door he can find. He will be running around the map trying to kill anything that breathes, teammates or not. He's not really a team killer, but we'll throw it in there anyway. I think he's been controlled well. Teams identify him as a threat, and at this level, if teams have got the ability to control you and to deal with aggression that you can show, that's where you see, I think, some players starting to struggle with this tier of player. I'm not at all saying that Sloth is bad, but it is that's going to be a Corey special, but not quite. It's okay. Don't worry, Jess. Let your heart be settled. Put the pacemaker back on. Things are okay. But I think with players like Sloth, again, he reminds me a little bit of Joe from Na'Vi last season, where aggression and gun skill he is amazing at, but the composure and experience in tier 1 is going to take time to build.
Well, speaking of time to build, they're out of time now. We got a 5-1. Surely you can't give them the match point as Anarchy makes his way behind boxes. Plant surely goes down, and as he does, it'll reach the last 1 second as it goes. There's the beeping. That's what you want to hear if you're an attacking team in the dying seconds of a round.
Gosh.
Citizen, will he change the course of this round? Des, surely he will. We know he's been a big hitter beside Virtue. It's the two big fraggers of G2 making it work.
Oh my god.
Oh no, you could see Kenny's face there, and my heart drops for the side of Cowana, because that round should have surely been theirs. Out of all of the confident rounds that I have seen, that was the one that should have been, but alas, here we are. G2 could do it all on attack and defense, Des. Is there anything they can't do?
That's going to be one of them rounds that I put down and say, in a 4 versus 2, Cowana should not have lost.
Yes.
The big problem, and Virtus Pro made this mistake last week, you keep taking Citizen, one of the most prolific gunners that we have in the competition, into 1v1s. You have a numbers advantage, and you keep on giving him 1v1s. Why? And part of it will come down to, we just don't know where he is. We don't know the information, where he's moving. It's hard to set up a 2 versus 1 when we don't know where he's going to push from, right? But in that case, like, you've got someone pushing through blue into Arsenal when your bomb is down or the diffuser's down, halfway across the map from where Citizen is at the time. Why there isn't an attempt to kind of pull back and just play a bit more patient was kind of beyond me, because he's doing this week in, week out. You've got to make this guy feel uncomfortable, but right now he's in his element, just walking through and taking 1v1 after 1v1 after 1v1 and winning them all. That was a 3K for him in that round, of which 2 of them came down post-plan. It's unbelievable.
Well, this could be the very last round of this map, a very swift map. And I feel like I've been saying this a lot today. Wow, this map's going fast. Wow, this map's going fast. I hate to say that, because you want the competition to be close in EUL and beyond, in every region, of course. My problem is now, look over to Cavana's composition here, Des. Let's talk through it a little bit. And Amaru. Now, there's only 2 reasons you bring in Amaru. And I'm going to make the assumption they knew it would be this site, because, you know, G2, they retook below. They won now this one. Yeah, so they knew it would be this site. So they know it's either a hatch play, and they knew it would be a hatch play with the Amaru, or this is an aggressive push into con/cash. Now, given where Kendra is currently going, and given the hatch is already pre-open for Kendra below and Billiards, this is a fast plan. I don't think it works. I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Right there.
Banshee, a Frostmat, multiple verticals, and who else is with him below? Or is it just him by himself? It's just him and Citizen rotating to Armory. Oh, this is a nightmare incoming, I think.
It can be. I mean, G2 have got 3 players scattered out to the east, 4 if you include Klayak inside of Logi here. They could get away with this because only Uno is going to be able to react. With these walls reinforced up, he's got to swing from inside of bedroom. And if he has to swing from inside of bedroom, this could play out very, very differently. They're even now peeling away the mirror windows, so no one can play here safely and contest him. Again, ensuring that someone is going to have to here play through master, in which case they can contest through there. They're even going to get the second one opened up. Wow, so they really don't want to be playing inside a bathroom here. But with him now being forced away, now they've got to find a way to remove Uno from inside a bedroom, and then they can make the play.
Speaking of making the play, they do manage to get the Jaeger down in dirt. They tried that the other round, of course, and that was going to be Sloth who tried it in the first half, and, well, he didn't get punished for it, but Kanto does. Cowana are far too wise for that one. Kendra is still waiting below. He's waiting for the confirmation from his teammates that they will have everything on lock. They don't want to have a nasty C4 surprise below when he comes zooming up. They don't want to deal with them not having crossfires from windows, so they do need to deal with the player over towards CCTV, and this could be a highlight reel play here, Des. It's either perfect or it's horrible, and Virtue's the one that will be close enough to answer.
They've just actually blown up the Banshee as well, so all is clear here. Again, they've just got to worry about the player that's hanging inside a bedroom, and it is Virtue in this case. He's being pinched. He's being made to feel uncomfortable, but he's going to go for it. They're going to try and pressure the window at the same time. Virtue, turn around, just spray him. He's in there. The C4 comes down. It's going to hit Kenny. No one stopped him running inside a gym. They've shut the whole thing down. He sprays another. Virtue, the hero player of the round, has shut down Gorgona's ace up their sleeve. That was the last they had to bring to the fore. It's 2 versus 3. C4 sings out from Uno, catches Gorgona. Anarchic is all alone. Cowana, they've tried some roams, they've tried some ammo replays, but every single time G2 have put back and said, no, you will be stopped here. 7-1. G2 are looking unstoppable.
Earlier on, I said that BDS might be the kings of EU, but with that performance on the board, G2 are back, baby, and it is scary. Cowana are not a bad team by any means. They very much deserve to be a Tier 1 team. That's how they clawed their way into Tier 1 EUL as it currently exists. But wow, what a showing from Virtue. That is the highlight and star player of today's game. He was the second MVP for me in last Playday when G2 played. I think he's going to be the ultimate flex player for G2. We saw him not shine so much last year, but he is absolutely blossoming this year.
We keep on saying it. He is not the flashy player that's going to step up and get you a 3K at the end of a round, or be the guy who's first in a building and getting you kills. That's Citizen's job. But when Citizen is down, or when everything comes down to brass tacks, you can always rely on Virtue to be the one who steps up and makes it happen. But to be honest with you, Kayak today, really impressed with him. A lot more consistent and some big rounds in the first half. G2 are looking formidable, and with their defenses getting even better, I can't wait for that showdown against teams like BDS on the 19th of April. But for now, let's go over to our desk and get their thoughts on what has been yet another quick game this evening.
Chef's kiss. Formidable. Incredible.